gentlemen, boys and girls, please put your hands together and welcome the one, the only, Stan the Man Lee!
You forgot to mention, but on the seventh day I rested.
Thank you so much. Now, you can sit there if you like. You've got a microphone.
Old big couch.
They're all for you. You can recline if you wanted to. Now, Stan, you have been, as I've said, responsible for the creation of so many characters over the years. What is it, when you're creating a character, that you look at immediately and think that's going to make that character memorable?
Well, it depends how it's drawn. It's easy for me to come up with a character, with an idea for a character, but I have to get an artist to draw the guy or the girl so that they look sensational. And the minute I see the drawing and it looks sensational, I figure that's it. And I was lucky because I worked with some of the most talented artists in the business, and they made what I wrote look better than it was. I worked with Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, John Romita, Gene Colan. You probably know the names if you read our books. They were wonderful. They did all the work. I took a lot of credit. It was a great system.
So are you trying to say that you've essentially been riding on the coattails of greatness for your entire career?
Just like I'm riding on your coattails now. You're doing all the work. I'm sitting here. You're charming the audience, and I'm figuring, why am I on stage with a guy who talks better than I do?
Be still, my beating heart. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm actually going to get out of the way because this is your time.
Hey, wait a minute.
Oh.
What's up there?
There's a giant U.
Why am I not facing this way? Now I'm looking at my back. I want to see it the way they see it. Turn me around. I'll never understand this kind of stuff. All right, but you're having more fun. You can see a big me. I'm stuck with a little me and a little him, and you can see a big. It's too complicated. How are we going to work this?
Well, if people raise a hand, I will come running to them, and then they will ask questions. You're completely thrown by having a giant U.
No, I don't see you. Where are you?
Hang on. Here. There I am. Look, there's the back of my head.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't it? Oh, I missed a bit when I was shaving my head.
Modern science. It's wonderful.
Isn't it? So we're going to ask questions, and we've got somebody who's going to come out and sit with you if you want to. We've got accent. Accents are very hard things. So ask your questions very close to the microphone and very clearly.
No, he's being very kind. I can understand your accents, even though I look like a model of physical perfection. I don't hear as well as I should. So if you're out there with the questions, it'll be hard for me to understand. So speak clearly, and if I answer wrong, it's not that I'm in error, I just misunderstood the question. Go! You!
Hello. Just here.
Hello, I got that part clear. Hi there.
Hello. Did you get to pick your superpowers in the Lego Marvel game?
Something about the Lego Marvel game?
Did you get to pick the superpowers of your character?
No, they just did the game. I didn't get anything except a lot of money, of course. No, I didn't even get that. It was fun.
Let's be honest, that's its own superpower, really.
Whose superpower?
Having lots of money.
No, that's not a superpower. That's something that I'm still trying to achieve. I'm going to tell you the greatest superpower in the world. No, I shouldn't, because I should wait till you... One question I always get is, if you could have any superpower, what superpower would you want? And nobody ever expects the answer I give, because the answer I give is luck. Because if you're lucky, everything is good for you. If you're a superhero, if somebody shoots you, the shot misses. If you buy a lottery ticket, you win the prize. I mean, luck is the greatest superpower you can have. But you're wondering, so how come you never had a superhero who was lucky? Because it's not visual. What kind of costume would you give a lucky guy? How do you draw special effects if you're lucky? So there's nothing to fascinate the reader or the viewer looking at the pictures. So the greatest power in the world, luck, will never be depicted in an action comic book. And I'll pause for a moment while we all digest that. Where's my man Quinny?
Over here.
All right.
Hello. Oh. Did you get to choose when your cameo happens in the movies?
Something about a cameo happening in the movie?
Do you get to choose?
Do I get to pick my cameo? No! If I got to pick them, they'd be longer, they'd be more heroic, I'd be the star of the movie. What happens is, I get a call from the director. He says, Stan, we got the cameo for you. Can you get here on the set? So I go to the set, I shoot my little, he tells me what to do, I shoot the scene, and he says, now get the hell out of here and stop bothering the actors. And that's it. And I never even, I did a cameo for, what is it, Guardians? No, what was the name of the show? The Universe. Defenders of the, is it Defenders of the, Defenders of the Universe. I have trouble with that name. I did my cameo for it. I have absolutely no idea what that cameo has to do with the rest of the movie. I want you to see the movie and see if you can figure it out when it comes out. But I forgot what the question was, and I probably answered it badly, so I'm sorry. I have this incredible way of writing. Everything I write turns out to be great, you know? I can't help myself. No, seriously, I've had a lot of ideas that I didn't like after I wrote them down, but because I didn't like them, I never made a comic book out of them. Every one that I've done, it's because I liked it. And I'm very proud of them. I love them. I may be the only one who loves them, but I love everything.
Okay, we're halfway up on the right.
I thought he meant we're halfway through with the interview.
Welcome to Sydney, Stan.
Thank you.
I was here in Sydney 30 years ago for the first OzCon, and you didn't turn up. And I'd love to know why.
Wait a minute. She was 30 years ago. What did I do that she wants to know why? I don't remember why I didn't come out 28 years ago, but I'll tell you one thing I should have come out is you people are great and I've never had a better time. I love Australia. I love Australians. We were, a couple of years ago, we were in Melbourne, right? Had a great time. Now I'm having a great time here. I don't understand your language, your accent. I never know what anybody's saying, but you look so good when you're saying it. I'm sorry, I don't know the reason. 28 years ago, I was supposed to come out? What do you mean, yes? I didn't even know this guy 28 years ago. Oh. That's when I moved from New York to California, so I was probably busy moving and couldn't make it. Thank you very much, whoever you are.
We're a little further up on the right.
How's it going, Dan? Or Stan?
Pretty good. Yes, Joe or Schmo, I don't know.
Personally, for you, when you written almost every single Marvel one, which character did you click well with?
All of them, I think.
Personally for you?
Well, the one I really got a kick out of was Iron Man, because when I wrote that, nobody thought it would work or the people would like it, because he made war, he made munitions, he was a billionaire, he was a manufacturer, he represented wealth and capital. And in those days, there were so many hippies and people who wanted to change the establishment, and he seemed to be against everything that all these people were for at the time. And I said, I'm gonna make them like him. Because I sort of modeled him, if you've heard of Howard Hughes, who was a great inventor. He was a brilliant movie maker. He was a very rich man. He made the biggest plane in the world, the Flying Goose, which only flew for 15 minutes, and that was all. But he was crazy also. But he was a capitalist. In those days, people didn't care for capitalism much. Everybody was protesting. So I thought, I'm going to do this character and make them like him. And it took a while, but he got to be kind of popular. If you've seen the Iron Man movies and Robert Downey's version of him, he's pretty good. I mean, he's not Hugh Jackman, but he's pretty good. I love Hugh Jackman.
Hello, Stan.
Hello.
My name's Tony Solomon. Just to be in the same room as you, it's a great honor, and to be able to...
Thank you.
That's fantastic. I wanted to ask, now that you're doing your own company, POW Entertainment, do you ever see yourself doing more comics for Marvel or for POW Entertainment or any other media in the future?
Well, I don't think I'll be writing any more comics.
Okay.
But we are doing... POW Entertainment now has a movie, an animated movie that's on the Hub Network. I don't know if you get it here or not. It's called Stan Lee and the Mighty Seven. And oh, you've seen it. Well, anyway, they're going to eventually make another movie of it and then a live-action movie, and you'll see when it comes around. And we're doing a lot of other things at POW. I forgot what the question was. What was the question? Pay attention. Not even paying attention. Get off the stage. Oh, am I going to be doing anything more for Marvel? So we're doing things like that. I'm working on a number of movies, but I'm not writing them myself. I come up with the ideas, and then POW finds a way to put it together with the writer and the director. And we have one we're doing. It features, of all things, a Chinese-American hero. It's called The Annihilator. And just wait till you see that in a year and a half. And we have an Indian one called Chakra. He's a teenage hero, superhero, but he's not Peter Parker, don't worry. And we're working on a lot of things, but as I say, I don't write them myself because I don't have the time, and I think I've written enough, but I come up with the ideas and then we try to get writers, and it's been a lot of fun. I love what's going on.
Hello, Stan. My name is Michael. Ever since I was little and I read my first comic book, I've never actually dreamt that I would talk to you, like, in this method. But what I've always wanted to ask you was, where did you first find the inspiration to create your first few characters?
Hunger. I was hungry, and we didn't have much money in those days, and it was a job. And if I hadn't created these characters, I would probably have been fired. So it didn't take much inspiration. It took a lot of fear. Seriously, I worked for a publisher, and it was my job to write the stories. I was the head writer. And every time I wrote one, I was a little bit nervous. What if he doesn't like it? Luckily, he liked them. We published them. They sold, and that was it. But there wasn't any... You know, people use the word inspiration. It's just really thinking. I mean, when I did the Fantastic Four, that was the first one of the so-called new Marvel characters. We had been doing a lot of books, and my publisher never had much respect for the audience, for his readers. He used to say to me, don't put in too much dialogue and don't worry about characterization. Just give me a lot of action, action, action. And I would say to him, but there ought to be more to the story than action. But I didn't want to argue with him because he was the boss. So when I came up with the Fantastic Four, I was about ready to quit because I was sick of the stories I was having to write. And my wife said to me, Stan, why don't you do one story the way you want to write it? The worst that'll happen, he'll fire you, but at least you'll get it out of your system. You want to quit anyway, I know. So I wrote the Fantastic Four, and I wrote it differently. I worried about their personalities. I tried to give them each different characterizations. I tried to give them each different ways of talking, their dialogue. They didn't all sound alike, and so forth. And it worked. So then he came back to me and said, hey, why don't you do something else like that? And we did the I got to tell you about the X-Men. This is funny. I came up with the idea for the X-Men. And I said to him, I told him about it, and I said, I want to call it the Mutants. And he said, that's a dumb name. Nobody knows what a mutant is. Get another name. Okay, he was paying my salary, so I forgot the Mutants. And I thought they have extra power. I'll have them led by a guy named Professor Xavier. I'll call him the X-Men. So I went back into the room and said, how about we call them the X-Men? He said, yeah, that's great. So when I walked out of his office, I thought, if nobody would know what a mutant is, how would anybody know what an X-Men is? But he okayed the title, and lo, a legend was born. I hope I answered the question. While I was talking, I tend to forget what the questions are. You have to forgive me.
Hi, Stan.
Hi, where's that coming from?
Hi. Hello. Over here.
Right at the back, on the right.
I have no sense of direction. All right, go ahead.
Hi. If you could be one of your superheroes, who would you be?
Oh boy. Again, Tony Stark. He's rich and all the women love him. What could be better than that? So he's got a bad heart. Big deal.
In the middle.
No, the heart isn't in the middle, it's up here.
Hi Stan. If you could revive any timely comics title, what would it be and why?
Well, it wasn't a title. The only thing I wasn't happy with, I came up with a villain once called Diablo. And I thought the name was great. And I was working with Jack Kirby, and we needed to do a book quickly because we had a press date, and if we were late, we'd have to pay the printer a bonus, all kind of stuff like that. So we had to work fast. He said, well, who'll the villain be? And I said, I got a great name, Diablo. And we did some kind of story. It's the only character today, I don't remember who Diablo was, what his power was, if he had any. I don't even remember the story. So I figure he's the one character I did that for me, it didn't work out that well, because I ought to remember my own characters. One of these days, if you could get me a copy, when you wake up, if you could get me a copy of Diablo, I'd love to see it. I created them for the Fantastic Four. Oh, good, go back to sleep.
Hey.
I feel so vulnerable up here.
First thing, well, the Stanley family loves you.
Yeah.
Woo!
Thank you.
And second thing, why didn't you have any cameos in the X-Men movies?
Oh, well, for those of you who are interested in business and commerce, I'm going to tell you why I had no cameo in the X-Men movie. It was so that they could make more money. And here's the reason. And you'll see how logical this is. A person goes to see the X-Men, watches the whole movie, now it ends. And what is the first thing that person says to him or herself? I didn't see Stan's cameo. I must have been reaching for some popcorn and I missed it. Or I'd better buy another ticket. And they run to the box office, buy another ticket, watch the movie again, because nobody wants to miss my cameo. So half of the money they made on the X-Men movie is because my cameo wasn't there and people bought extra tickets. You should have figured that out.
Hi Stan.
Yeah.
Just wondering, what was your involvement in the creation of the Batman character for the comics? I think you had you changed his kind of the cape and the ears and that. I was just wondering how that came involved.
No, I have nothing to do with the Batman movie, but I think that Warner Brothers is missing a hell of a bet. Can you imagine if they advertised Stan will have a cameo in this movie? Nobody would believe it. No, I have nothing to do with anything that DC does. You cannot blame any of their mistakes and bad movies on me. I'm only kidding. Airport.
Hi Stan, my name is Leo. Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for bringing all this magic and all this inspiration to this work. My question is about your career. Like, if you have like a 1 minute to give an advice to everybody here, like for a successful career, for a happiness in your life, like what would be?
I missed the last part of that. Well, that's hard because everybody really wants something else in life. But I think the one general rule that I've always followed, if you're doing something creative, like writing or drawing, or you're making music, anything, if you're doing something that's for the public, please yourself. Don't say to yourself, ooh, I think they would like it. You don't know them, but you know yourself. If you write or compose or draw something that you yourself love and you yourself think is great, the chances are you're not that unique. There'll be a lot of people who have the same taste and they'll like it.